Hello, my fellow schizotypals. Did you hear that noise? What up, doe? And welcome back to Highlight with Karhlyle Fletcher. Today, we're going into some really exciting stuff because we're just turning back to the water-soluble THC, CBD, etc., cannabinoids, and what that means for the future of medicinal cannabis and cannabis as a pharmaceutical. Then we're going to just be looking at some painting in general. We're gonna end off the episode with some new music from my buddy Shoppe, very talented guy, and building a bridge or something, building like a train. Yeah, that's gonna be the plan. Anyways, to get into what we have to discuss, cannabis as a pharmaceutical is becoming a more and more likely reality as the days go on, and it really is the effort put into spread information and also build the information which we need to be able to do something like that. And here we're seeing the work being done. So here we have a real this is like working. It's a private company. It's Pure Green in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, but they're working with the FDA to test safety and efficacy for diabetic neuropathy of CBD. I first covered this back in 2019 with Cannabis Tech and Respect My Region. And I interviewed Stephen Goldner, and that's where, if you would like to learn more about how this works. We can just go through the interview. And a lot of this is just from Steve himself, and it is an excellent explanation. The reason, there's a lot of really fundamentally exciting things that are happening with this study. This is for safety primarily, but what they have is that they have statistically and clinically significant pain reduction from baseline as compared with placebo with the CBD tablets. And they also had significantly more favorable patient global impression of change than the placebo group. Subject in the CBD group met the minimal clinical important difference for sleep improvement. And if I recall correctly, what Steve said is that they have 500 times the needed efficacy to be able to qualify. And so, just to get more into the history of what we're dealing with, not only is Steve one of the most talented chemists and professionals in the space of pharmaceuticals, Stephen Goldner helped define a lot of drug science in America. This is one of the co-creators, if not the lead engineer behind morphine. So it's this is somebody who's been working with trying to get more ethical consumption to the public for decades. This is somebody who actually has experience with the FDA. And off top, I think it was around 250 patents he's already been able to get through the organization. So this guy is the guy to be able to get through to the FDA and actually get some stuff. He's seen he can get other things passed. Why wouldn't he be able to get cannabis? And that's where this is really different and really exciting, is that this is controlled by somebody who's designed several available FDA products. So it's there's several treatment options that you can take today that he's gotten past the FDA. So this is the same man who's done this time and time again. I think that where you can really see the expertise in this is, first off, the control of the substances that are being addressed in the study, and second off, when you look at the inclusion criteria alone, there's 24 different bullet points, and when you read this, it looks like a law document, because it is so extensive to just narrow down human subject without, they haven't taken pharmaceutical pain medication of any kind, they don't have uncontrolled asthma, they are in these states, they don't have a known allergy, to anything that you'd have to deal with, and it's so it's they have a here, which one is it? So they haven't taken a pharmaceutical pain medication, or any opiate, so it's that's kind of a little and like also exclusion for having clinically significant illness. So there's like it's controlling for actual things that could confound the results. They produce the thing which is being tested, which sometimes, it's like that's complicated because it's like I don't exactly advocate for that in terms of efficacy. But in this case, the reason why that's really important is because we're dealing with water-soluble THC. And water-soluble THC, to use a fancy word, first off, water-soluble means it dissolves in water. Oil-soluble means it dissolves in oil. So, like that's not too hard to understand. But water-soluble THC is more bioavailable to humans, which means that less is more. So it's like you might have, if you have 1 milligram of 100% bioavailable THC, and you have 100 milligrams of 0.0001% bioavailable THC, that 1 gram is going to be more, you're going to get higher off of that, because the other one might have more THC, but your body's not able to work with it. It's not available to the bio, it's not available to life. And so the processed foods in general, so especially like brownies and wheat and these things, are difficult for the human body to process. And junk food doesn't belong in the average diet, hopefully. But for what Goldner explains is that it takes 6 or 8 minutes. It took the company 6 or 8 minutes to realize that they don't want to work with fats because people don't do that well with oil. You're okay with a cup of water that's flavored. You wouldn't do that well with a cup of 30 weight oil. You wouldn't do that well with a thimbleful of oil either. Since my goal was to make a good medication for people and not make them sick, I needed to change the molecule from being oil soluble to water soluble. Like they said in the movie Men in Black, you're essentially a sack of water with some protein thrown in. So, like, the point here is that oil is a very, it's like when you give somebody a water-soluble tablet and you give them a brownie, they're going to feel much lighter and better after the tablet, because it's not going to be very complicated for your body. You're going to be able to digest it, and it's just going to be in a familiar sort of way. And like where I think that this technology is really, really crucial is when you're dealing with people who are trying to just do it medicinally. Like they don't want any other aspect of it. Say like you have somebody with arthritis, say you have somebody with sleep issues, say you have somebody with diabetic neuropathy. Like all of these things are really where they can drive home with safe, effective medicine that is dosable directly and repeatable. It's very predictable medicine. That's where I think that this is different, and that this actually can show. I think that Pure Green is going to spearhead cannabis pharmaceuticals. I really do deeply believe that, because I think that they have all of the right things lined up, and they've actually done their homework in making products that make sense, are explainable, and get the results that they're looking for. So at 22 years old, he co-invented methadone. And then he dropped out of school to raise money for the drug. So this guy is a fucking legend, this guy, I don't try to believe in many things. Stephen Goldner is someone I believe in. He can, if somebody would be able to move a mountain, that would be the one. So the rest of it, I think that we get the point. We make the cannabinoid water soluble. It hits your tongue or your body. That gets into the bloodstream, and then you're able to use that. It's that medication here in this study. Now we're seeing it be applied in the real world to people who have diabetic neuropathy. And this affects 50% of patients with diabetes. So 50% of people who have this condition have diabetic neuropathy. And so it's damage to the peripheral nerves, so in the hands and the feet, due to chronic elevated blood sugar. And this obviously is it's terrible pain, and it's terrible, you can't really do much with it, considering it's your hands and your feet. Another thing to bring up is that the way that they collected this information was from home and from people who are doing the treatment via smartphone. And while I do think that having in-clinic research is crucial for stuff like brain scans, when it comes down to stuff like this, it's somebody who has diabetic neuropathy of the feet doesn't really want to commute into a study place. They don't really want to move much. So let's address the pain. And that's where a study like this is able to do that without having to force inconvenience on the individual, which is good points for human efficacy and like humane values. But yeah, we got like $30,000 per patient year in 2015 of people who are struggling with this condition. And the approved pharmaceutical treatments are, we got, pregbalin, duloxetine, tapentadol, hydrochloride. And like, listen, I know I pronounce things awfully. I understand, but the point is the information. So these medications have severe adverse effects, including black box warnings for suicidal ideation. Other pharmaceutical classes of drugs used to treat are off-label and include acetaminophen, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, antidepressant, anti-seizure medication, opiates, analgesics. Y'all are speaking Latin. And antiarrhythmic medications. Patients using this medication also experience serious side effects and with unreliable efficacy for symptom relief. Physical modalities are also used to mitigate pain from diabetic neuropathy, but again, with inconsistent results. And again, so coming back from my own life, my mother was a obese woman with diabetes. She had blue feet, all that, yada, yada, yada. It was really hard. It was really hard for her to live her life. Because everything was shooting pains all the time, and then like she was like given like 14 pills, and it came in like a box set, and like so the two things were either that she was in excruciating pain or she was so numbed out from all of the cocktail that she was given that she was practically not even there. So like in my experience living with somebody who had this condition who raised me, like I accredit the mismanagement of this condition. I accredit her death to that because, again, she died from Xanax withdrawal. And it's like, if we could have pursued the treatment of pain and the treatment of negative symptomology with something like this, where it's like nobody, and like, knock on wood, I'm not a medical professional, but to the best of my understanding, nobody is going to overdose on these tablets, especially at 20 milligrams. Nobody's going to die from withdrawal. Nobody's going to like have that effect from pure green. And it is like literally that was what all those medications were for. And like she couldn't digest food properly. She couldn't use the bathroom properly. She couldn't stay awake. She would like constantly, not constantly, but pretty commonly fall asleep at the wheel. And it was just like all these things where it's like this is a clear crisis of quality of life. And I bring all this up to imagine that anybody else who has either diabetes themselves or loved ones with it, that these are realities. That these are very distinct realities, and you're given medication that does not address it with efficacy or ethically, in my opinion. Because again, not here anymore. And that's where this research, I think, is so fundamentally important. And so what Steve told me was that when he was trying to get FDA approval, the research that he wanted to do, I think general pain. I think he wanted to do arthritis or something. And they were like, well, we want to do diabetes. And then he was like, all right, cool, bet. He doesn't talk like that. I know, I'm sorry. But he was like, yeah, I'll do that. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, yada, yada. And then he does the research on this, and it's like, to me, it does seem touching, which is funny because it's the FDA. But it's like, it seems touching to me that they're willing to actually make progress on this because it shows to me that they've been trying to address this, throwing anything at it for decades, and nothing is stuck. And they're like, all right, so, hey, listen, dude, from the age of 22, you've been leading us. Your work has been defining what we do because you're the guy who makes it happen. Could you make this happen? And it's like, if they're doing that, and this is the situation we're in right now, I think that, within a couple of years, we're going to see a real shift. And I think that the work is not going to be behind, like Steve's done the work, it's here. This is going to be a water-soluble ethical medicine that is effective. And I understand that this sounds like an advertisement, but it's not about the idea that it's profitable or the idea that it's like a good product or like, well, and first off, it is, because I do believe in it. But it's also the sheer fact that he is able to communicate with the highest levels of regulation effectively. He is spearheading, Pure Green is spearheading, and I really believe that they could be one of the first companies to make a real difference in the treat. Like, it's like, we have epileptic medication, we have cannabis medication already through the FDA, and if we have engineers and chemists like Steve behind it, like, I see a real shift, especially if they're willing to play ball. So that's where it's like, I think that this is groundbreaking. Is that, it's like right now we already are treating epilepsy, but let's start treating diabetic neuropathy. Let's start treating arthritis. Let's start treating stuff like this. I've discussed with him the idea about, getting used to dopamine and like doing that, and like the potential for that as a therapeutic treatment for some other conditions. And I don't want to say too much because I don't want to, say something that, so like just forget that. But the point is that there's a lot of exciting things that we could really push forward here on this topic. And I read through this entire thing, and it is incredibly, like, this is another thing, it's incredibly readable. That's why I really love the team at Pure Green, is that you can get through the entire piece of research. It doesn't really leave you in a mumbo jumbo. But basically, it was a placebo versus, it was a double-blinded, et cetera, et cetera. It's a double-blinded, placebo-controlled, decentralized clinical trial in the U.S. He's really proud of the fact that the subjects are able to stay at home, which, again, I think is more ethical, especially for people who are in pain. So I'm with it. I don't, surveys, I got, like, I don't know. Maybe a phone call, I think, would, if it is a phone call, whatever. But I am not here to poke holes. So, and this is the work behind it. They got the inclusion, exclusion. The results, we got 226 patients. They had an adverse effect in the placebo group, but not the cannabis, not the CBD group, which was funny. That's very funny. So another thing about that is that I think that they're going to see much less adverse effects with their medication, because they have what they have is the water-soluble controlled substance that is made with chemicals and things that are designed to be, it's designed to be as easy on the human system as possible, which I think is just much less likely to end up in a negative result. So I'm just really excited to see what keeps coming out of what they're doing. Got your groups. So time point, obviously we can see the CBD having a distinct effect here, while the placebo kind of just evens out to where that went. So it's a scale index of the mean was a 7 on pain. We got that down to below a 4 in this study. And then here we got from you got the placebo, which is funny because it goes down and then back up. But meanwhile, the CBD group, it goes down, 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 down. And you can see that clear, you can see the like that's there. Even without anything else, you can see the efficacy, which is what I think we're ready for. Because I do think that we're ready for essentially the transition into a legitimized pharmacological industry. And I really want to get Steve on the show. We've talked about it, and that's going to be probably our first guest, because I could not ask for a better one. This stuff I am utterly in support of, because I do think that, so we got like different tribes in the cannabis world, obviously. And then you've got the one tribe who's like, this is research, whether that's from the University of Jerusalem, or that's from Prague, or that's from whatever, it's like these people, Thailand has a research facility, and like there's these international community of researchers that have done really important work on the substance. And then there's like these people who are trying to sell shit. You know, these people who are just like, you know, it's like, I got this CBD spray, I got da 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 da, you know, like this is, you know, lemon cookies is the best shit ever. And like it's the cultural aspect, which is not medicinal. They might promote medicinal users and they might promote policy that makes it easier on, you know, the community, but they're not really, you know, on the same level of informed, and they don't care about the information. They don't care about the academic culture. From my conversations with the people I respect who are more towards that side, they think that that's 5 years out, that we're going to actually have these conversations. And that's where it's like, I think they're fucking wrong. I think they start here. Because I think that we will see the shift easily when this research pans out. And that's what I think Pure Green will do, is they will give us solid research that we can depend on to make arguments in public, specifically to hard to reach demographics. We don't need to convince anybody who's under 40. You know, they're already pro weed. But like there are people who, you know, long-term diabetics, etc., etc. My mother was anti-cannabis until it got legalized, you know? It literally took the government being like, no, that's an approved medicine, to her be like, oh, it's not immoral. That was literally it. That was it. That was the entire argument. Once the government said it was okay, she's like, oh, that's a medicine. So we do these tablets. So many people are just going to fall immediately to that because they're going to understand, oh, the FDA approves of it. It's not poison. It's not bad. Da 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 da. And that's where I think that that's a major victory. I think that can't be overstated. So that's about all on the research side. We're going to get into the paintings. Well, yeah, I'm just really jazzed. And also, you know, talk to him a little bit, and like, let me tell you, that's one of the smartest men I ever talked to. So again, if somebody's gonna lead a good development cycle, believe it's him. Because like everything else, like recreationally, that is just preference. That is taste. You want the best dabs, go figure out what you want in the dabs. You want the best weed, da 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 da. You know, just figure it out. Shop around. That's really the experience of that. But if we want, the thing about cannabinoids is that they're the same in every plant. The concentrations might be different, but it's the same inherent chemical. So if you can isolate the cannabinoid and you can make that into a compound, like you can get it down to a compound, and then you can make that water soluble. We're not dealing with cannabis. We're not dealing with a recreational substance that's like, hey man, it's like a beer, you know, it might make you feel whatever way. It's, who knows, tequila makes your clothes fall off, you know, it's not that sort of ordeal anymore. Now it's much more akin to an aspirin. And that's another thing where it's like, this is the major, so yeah, it might be effective in addressing neuropathic pain, but what if it can address a headache? What if it can address a stubbed toe? You know, what if the low doses, where it's like even less, can replace these medicines that we take every week, every other day, that are killing our livers? You know, that's the real potential, and I think that that's the most exciting conversation in the modern cannabis climate today. Legalization doesn't matter; it's inevitable. You know, like these things, cultural acceptance is inevitable. As the next generations get older, it's just going to be da 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 da. And I think that there's an appropriate cultural backlash against the popularity of recreational weed. And I don't hate that, you know, the fact that people are like getting all edgy and talking about how bad it is. You know what? Good, because I don't think that we should be encouraging people to try it. But at the same time, if we do have a diabetic patient who is on medications that put them in a risky situation, maybe we could transition to treatment options like this that would be better for them. And I mean, I guess what I'm saying is it's really, I'm fiercely on the medical side of cannabis. That's the real potential. The recreational value, I respect it. But this is also, so we're transitioning into the next part. What is recreation? From Delacroix, I've quoted it once, I'll quote it a million times. He was talking about the root of the word detach. And detach means to, or not detach, distract. And distract is to pull away, or to like take away from something. So it's like, it's not a positive thing, it's a negative thing, because it's like it's removing your focus. And how is that a good thing? You know, Because, like, to me, I'd rather look at David Berlewick. Look at that. Isn't that nice? It's pretty. That's pretty. I mean, it's like, it's recreation, sure, but it's also literally a man's, a man's effort is going on here. And the first one that we showed off was this one. And it's pleasant, but it's still like, the idea of like, I don't know, I don't need to be lost to not focusing on anything. I don't need to be pulled away from life to enjoy it, which I think is the sort of unhealthy attitude that we have, and I think that's what Delacroix was highlighting, is that we're trying to always run away from existence rather than meet it. Meanwhile, I think that the basis of art, the basis of health, the basis of meaning, all of these things are meeting life and embracing it and taking on the challenges and taking on the difficulties and trying to really figure it out. And this is another one of those things where it's like, I think it's funny that people will call people argumentative or stubborn or all these things, and I see that as a commitment to that being alive, that commitment to living a life, rather than just always saying okay, because that's also like the I guess that was like the larger point about like how it's difficult to resist political movements, is that most normal people in those countries just said okay, whatever. And that's where it's like, I do think it's important to always resist things you think, it's like, yeah, sure, it might be seen as petty, or like you're just always arguing, or you're stubborn. But at the same time, if you think something is wrong, it's important. It's important to discuss these things. And I see it as bravery. So it's like, if you're willing to do that, I see that as somebody who has strong moral fiber, and somebody who I can actually get to trust, because if you can argue with somebody, and you can argue with them for 4 hours, you can get to know where they actually stand on things. You can get a scope with them as a person. And then you can get like really interact with them without fear, because there's not going to be like, when you're always being polite with people, when you're always being approachable and like this, idealized version of yourself, then you like, what happens when you relax? What happens when you actually become you? What happens when you start acting like yourself? Then you run the risk of getting fucked up for what? Just being alive. And I guess this is also, what was that? There's that one thing about like the mask, and then like the mask becoming the thing. And then everybody likes the mask, and then like you get addicted to wearing the mask. I forget, I think that might have just been a YouTube video. But it is like, a true statement, especially with social media, where it's like everything is like a construct. And that's where it's like, I guess that's why I'm bringing up the word distract, is that, it's a distraction. It's pulling you away from life. The main event is the thing that you do when you're breathing. The like conception of you that, that's also the thing about meeting great people, is that you notice that they're not as austere as the image of them. Everybody's just a human being. And what I find the most true about great people is that they're willing to, it's like, while the normal person tries once, the great person tries 100 times in every minute. And it's like, they're always trying to progress. And then if they reach into a problem, they're like, okay, so like basically they're like, all right, forward, and then they're like, okay, so like what about from there, Like it's like this, they're immediately taking a different perspective, they're waiting for things to change, they're trying to gauge stuff. And like I noticed that is much more people who are active and people who are part of the human experiment, people who are like, part of life, is the people who are willing to just keep trying and trying. And I think that is actually the most that is the quality we should reward the most, and that is a quality that you should try to exude the most. It's just that energy, just that love for life, because I think it's infectious and I think it's amazing, and I think that's actually the root of greatness. Meanwhile, social media, or this projection, this image of yourself, is sort of like a demon, and it's not you. That is a construct that you have made, in the same way that Beyonce isn't Beyonce. Behind Beyonce is a human being, but there's also this demon that she's made. Maybe that the industry has made. But it's this idea of a person, and it's like, I feel like now as a culture, we're always trying to be that idea of a person. And like that's why it's like, you know, then you have these people who are diabetic who are trying to be an idea of a person while their body rots, and they're given all these medications that have severe side effects, you know. And it's like, meanwhile, the thing that I think that we can draw to, and the reason why I'm so with Pure Green, is I've also talked to Deborah Kimless, and Deb is, again, smart as a whip, and, you know, just such a, absolutely have respect for her. And what I think we can see is that a lot of people can benefit from getting off of traditional pharmacology, first off. Not all of it, because some of it, you know, vaccine's good. Things good, you know, so it's like there's things that are necessary, but like aspirin may be bad, you know, like all these little things that you think you need, maybe you don't need. And the thing about that too is also with diet, you know, where it's like getting people off of processed fats, getting people off of sugars and things like that. I know that Kimless is particularly anti-meat, not anti, but she's, you know, meat skeptic, and she thinks that it's better to have a plant-based diet. But then it's like, you know, so the conversation becomes that it's like, okay, we have a diabetic, let's get them on a CBD tablet for their pain, see if that can get it to a manageable level. After that, let's start trying to get them to do moderate exercise and reintegrate a healthy diet, you know, because then it's like they're getting, you know, broccoli, and they're getting like, you know, things like that are helping their body, give them the tools to, like, you know, fight off things that are, you know, like inflammation and things like that, you know. But it's just like mild answers, mild solutions to these problems, rather than like, you know, a triple bypass gastric surgery, or like, you know, extreme diets, or like, you know, things like that. It's like, no, let's just do lifestyle, you know. And that's where it's like, I think that is the real answer, because lifestyle is you. You ultimately are your lifestyle, which is why it's so funny that we have these demons. Because, you know, if Beyonce is a demon, then also these, like, hippie lifestyles, these, like, hippie shamans, or, like, you know, this esoteric occult community, those are all demons, you know, because those aren't real people either. But simply, you know, it's like staring at the sky, you know, like singing to the moon, gardening, taking care of stuff, you know. It's like really simple, I guess, like praxis, essentially. The praxis of living a responsible and healthy life, I think is very, very key. And I think that is the key to making good art, having a good life, and giving yourself the quality of life that you deserve. This guy was portraitist, and he worked in Italia. Let me tell you, this fucking guy likes red. Boy, oh boy. I picked him out because there's that famous one, this famous one. Wow, damn, is that red? You know what I mean? That is a very red. And this is a very red. And that's like a purpley... Can you believe I'm an art critic? Oh yeah, I'm a very distinguished art critic. I have a fine eye for detail. I fuck with this guy. And I got a little heart emoji. That's how you know it's good. This is E-Boy. No shit that this one's popular. Is this a ceiling piece? I don't know. I'm bored. This guy. This is fun. This is the one that made him big. He gave it as a wedding present to his wife. But none of these are coming up big on the screen, which is a real disappointment, and I'm quite sad. Probably should have had some pieces ready, you know what I mean? But that would have been smooth. And what is a show without difficulty? You know? What is a show without a little bit of jank going on? Self-portrait with sister. That's a sis. We gotta walk. Walk at sunset. So we got the big one now. No, we're not gonna get to view any of this. Yeah, that's difficult. So, Victor, listen, love your work, but I don't know how to access it. Carl, same fucking shit. You, good job. I think this one's a portrait of my uncle. I think that's what he called it, which is funny, and I like it. He's got a good sense of humor. This reminds me of The Hobbit. Also, The Hobbit, the animated version, was by essentially Studio Ghibli, which is cool. Yeah. So that's 35 minutes. Yeah. Thank you for checking in. This is High Lit. I'm Karhlyle Fletcher. We got cannabis science, psychedelic science, independent music, classic literature, essential morality, and traditional urbanism. That is really the things that we try to focus on and have a place on this show and what we're trying to normalize in the general discourse. So, thank you so much for tuning in. And I guess, so next week we're going to be back, and obviously I'm excited about the FDA conversation because I do think that we're ripe for that, especially with just like the atmosphere around weed for the past like 2-3 years. So like I do think that we're headed for some major shifts on that. Stuff that I want to talk about is, again, I'm really into this distinctly understandable stuff, where it's like, this is a better option than that, probably. And that's where I think that this study is the study that we discussed is the kind of like the first step towards that. But in the future, it's like, this is where we're discussing, like, the difference between the risk of a schizophrenic smoking weed versus the risk of schizophrenic medication, like antipsychotics and things like that, where it's like, yeah, sure, there's like associated things that are negative, but that's life, like all of life is risk. So it's like, yeah, sure, cannabis as medicine might not be perfect. There's going to be downsides to everything, but that doesn't mean that it's not less. That doesn't mean it doesn't have a more tolerable profile than the majority of a lot of treatment options for treatment-resistant conditions. And I think, yeah, ultimately we are just pushing further and further into people trying to have fuller and fuller lives, because I think it's really hard to smoke weed and stay on your phone all day. Something I really recommend is leaving your phone somewhere else and going outside in the morning. Because there's generally like 4 or 5 hours after the sun rises that have pretty light quality, and then after that's kind of ugly. But if you can be out there for like, an hour, I think that it is, it's just a really nice reset for your brain. And I hate using words like meditation and shit like that, because it just seems so fucking... I don't like the idea that religion is somehow separate from life. And again, that's another thing, where it's like, I don't like the separation of mind and body. I think that they are extensions of each other. So it's like, that's where I get frustrated by this idea of like spirituality as this separate realm, or like meditation as like this sort of, hokey pokey fucking magic ordeal, where it's like, it's important for you to decompress. I don't care how you fucking do that, I'm not going to gatekeep bodily functions. It's also important that you breathe and use the bathroom, so it's like, I do think that just simply making sure that you're doing things that have nothing to do with life, like watching the sunrise or watching the sunset, is not social media. It's not anything like that. There's no value in it to any of those systems, but it is something that is deeply important to life, and it costs no money and stuff like that. And I think that if you start doing stuff like that, and you start while you're smoking weed, because then it's like, don't be on your phone, but like you can smoke weed, maybe draw, some stuff like that, and just spend 2 hours in quiet by yourself. I think it does really change. It's a mood shift, That's the kind of stuff I want to talk about, where, and then it's just funny, because when you always talk about substances, you always have to clarify to people that it's like, yeah, no, getting fucking loaded at a music festival is not what we're discussing when we're talking about trying to heal using these substances, That is not what we're talking about. So, it's a great study. BALAMBA is new Shoppe. It's a great artist. It's by New Shoppe. This is Lovecraft. I love them. Good dudes. And I bought this today, so that's my full disclosure. Buy it. Always recommend $10. Just as, whatever. Point being, why should you support Shoppe? Because he is a talented, up-and-coming musician, and I like him. And he's got, his own little got a little vibe with stuff, but ultimately, definitely happy to have him around. Where do we want to start? I'm gonna build a train. As you can see, we take infrastructure very seriously. Nice. It's all shaping up. It's all coming together. Jesus Christ, this is such a big infrastructure project. It doesn't matter. I'm fucking doing it for the boys or something. Okay. I'm down. I feel like I'm playing Sonic now. Fuck yeah. Oh, wait. Whoops. Are you fucking... Overpopulation's a bitch, isn't it? I love when you babysit, like, the village so long that you just don't care if they live or die. Because it's like, I mean, there could be a raid, and it'd be funny, mostly. I've also got another settlement, so... Ow. Meow. Okay, so I think we're gonna do a stone brick wall, because that shit's cheaper. Yeah, 'cause we can't afford normal stone, so it's just... Also, this stuff's available on YouTube, so you should probably check it out there. Let me actually just... Yeah, the one thing I will say about Bandcamp that I don't particularly care for is they don't let you control the audio levels. So this is more chill, obviously, and it's just easier to host around. Because, yeah, cool. Still just hanging out in the Minecraft world. Building. This is the train I was talking about. It is also nice to just be quiet sometimes and just let, you know, other content carry the segment. I'm shipping you back, by the way. How'd you get over there? How'd you manage to do all that now? Oh, fuck. Shipping you back. Shipping you back. Go back. I don't want you here. I'm shipping you back. Let's see, what else do we got? It's also heating up. It's about to be the hottest point of the day. So happy that we're at this point in recording. This also is beginning to feel much more completed. I'll probably do more work on this weekend, so the next time that you tune back in, it'll look different. I don't know what to do about the caves update, because that kind of ruins my whole little thing about just having this world as like a little urbanism project and model. Just stay around there. I don't understand why he wants to be shipped out so fucking bad. It's rude. You can stay in the city, because that was cute. I like that you came to the city, but you're not allowed to just be in my transport system. It's inconvenient. Oh, well, yeah, fuck you. Sure is annoying that the, what do you buy? So I give you one, okay, that's fine. I can get brick that way, because I'm not fucking getting clay. Not in this game. Are you kidding me? It looks like it's about to be fucking dark out anyway. Hello? Is that a child? What? God damn it. This is why I want to get several townships in order, so that if they're doing weird shit, it's not my problem. So. I also think that's funny. I should have made those into... I forgot. Oh no. Nice. Now that's feeling like a railway. Master the environment so that it knows it cannot compete. Only then do we know that we have civilization. So when nature is ours. God damn it. There we go. We're an hour in. Alright, cool. I guess just time to dip back and then we'll wrap this up. And thanks for tuning in to High Lit. I'm your host, Karhlyle Fletcher. Welcome to the Minecraft world. What we do is we're just trying to build up the urbanism in this so it feels cozy. Because then you don't have to explain to people why cars suck. You can just show them an environment in which is not car dependent. Because it's a Minecraft world and there are no cars. What's this? This is essentially a tram. You know? There's no things. I have rolled up, that's the point of this. Why is this one so long? A, so we can reach the South Sea. B, it's because then, I can just, while I'm doing a commute in Minecraft, I can use that to be like rolling. Wow, he grew up before our very eyes. But I do like just that this goes from like deep in the city core up here, and then it goes just straight down out to the river, and then that river out to the ocean, and then that, and then build that up as like a little urban area. Like this is getting built out because this is like, you know, it's not close to done, but it's definitely, you know, you don't just see this generated, you know, you're seeing a man's project. Oh look, it's a sheep. But you're seeing a man's project over here. That's not supposed to do that. You know, we got little neighborhoods, we got like the road forming, we got this going up, we got that neighborhood up there. I like that little place because it feels like it's a little rural retreat, so you're just like, oh my god, I can't stand the stress of the city, I'm just freaking out, I don't even want to be here anymore, I want to go. And then you just walk up and away, and then you're on a little estate immediately, and I'm gonna go to bed because fuck that shit. Nice. Let's get my overpowered bow right out. That would be amazing. Hello. 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 Cool. But yeah, so, you know, slowly giving everything its own little feel. This building, I don't know. Here's our farm, so the species won't go extinct. Who wants it? Who wants it? You can get it. But, yeah, so the species don't go extinct. Oh, look at you. So fucking special, huh? But, wait, do we not have, like, any... Oh, yeah, the sheep are in the other farm. But this is, like, the cow farm. We got some alpacas. This is my spider that I can jump on because it's daytime and it doesn't matter. Cats. This is the sheep one. Yeah, there's the fuck ton of sheep that we have. Just peek in. Wow. Yeah, that's it. I got nothing else. That's the end of the show. Thank you for tuning in. This is High Lit with Karhlyle Fletcher. I'm Karhlyle Fletcher, your host. Thanks so much. I'll see you again next week. Cool. We're going to be trying to do more casual content soon, too, so that'll be upcoming and interviews. But that's it. Yup. 41, baby. Woo!